I'm going to hit record because I know some folks were unable to join us due to time zone issues and other things happening that don't kind of line up with the professor's time zone and schedule. So I appreciate you joining. So I'm Scott Hunt. I am the professor here for this course, Diverse Learners. This is my third year teaching at ACE, but this is also my 33rd year in the field of education. I'm currently, and you could probably see my background, I apologize, it's the one I always use. I work for the Ohio Department of Education. I'm the executive director of field relations and serve primarily as a liaison between the agency and the field, which encompasses the whole state and every kind of stakeholder and partner that is in the state of Ohio. So I've been on board at the department for 3 years. Prior to that, I was a local school superintendent, obviously in Ohio, for 6 years in a small rural community. Prior to that, I was where I live in Northeast Ohio. The district that I live in, I was there for 15 years. I was the director of college and career readiness. I was a middle school principal for 5 years, high school assistant for 5 years, a high school counselor for 4 years. And then prior to that, I taught in Cleveland Metropolitan. I taught in Beechwood City, which is outside of Cleveland. And I started my career in sunny Naples, Florida, and I taught 5th grade. So hopefully my experiences and interactions with you throughout the course will help guide you in your thinking as we kind of roll through the next 5 weeks. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to ask everyone to kind of take a turn, share your name, where you're at, what you do, and tell me a little bit why you're in the course and what you are hoping to do in the future. So I'm happy to call names, or if somebody wants to just jump right in. Anthony, I know you're
Sure.
sticking back in the car. You look relaxed, so maybe you could go.
How are you, Dr. Hunt?
Great.
I'm Anthony Sirocco. I'm out of New Jersey. This is my 10th year in teaching. I'm in my 2nd district, East Brunswick. I've been in special education from the get-go. I've worked with ages 1st grade through 5th grade. They've moved me around various schools depending on the needs of certain students. Specifically having a male teacher in the elementary school, you're seeing it more and more, but obviously it's still, not as common. So I feel like it's nice to make that connection with young boys and show them, kind of a different perspective. This is actually my 2nd master's. I had pursued a master's degree in teacher leadership 5 years ago. And, at the time told myself, I wasn't interested in administration or being a supervisor, but, it's funny how things change and, your perspectives and goals as you, go through your career, adapt and evolve. So I'm in educational leadership. I've had the pleasure of working with some very supportive principals, and I really admire that role of helping teachers and students, thrive and help them out. So that's kind of my goal with pursuing this master's degree, is to eventually step out of the classroom and take on a different supportive role.
We call that the dark side. So good. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. Shall I call on who's next, or does somebody just want to jump in? Is it Ali? Am I saying that correct?
Yes, correct.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Ali Lazawi. I'm an ELD teacher in K6 school in Sacramento, California. And I've been teaching for 8 years. And I have 3 credentials. I have world languages Arabic, and I have English credential, and I have multiple subject credential. And I held a couple positions as an ELD teacher in high school, and ELD teacher in elementary school, and I taught 4th grade for 1 year. And I joined this master's degree program because I want to be a program manager for the EL departments. And this is one of my ambitions. And I really wanted to help the EL population to grow and thrive in my school district.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jaslyn?
Hi, my name is Jaslyn Diaz. This is my 9th year teaching. I used to run political campaigns, and once I had my son, I figured I'd like to not work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So I started teaching. I've been certified to teach social studies 6 through 12, ESC, ESOL, and gifted. I teach in Miami-Dade County. I taught in charter schools for 8 years. This is my year at a public school. And I want to make the change because things are a little unstable for social studies teachers in Florida right now. It's very scary. As of July 1st, we could be easily sued for anything. And and plus we just lost our amazing superintendent to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very scary, it's unstable. We don't know what things are gonna look like with this superintendent. I mean, his wife was just given a 6-figure job within the district. So things already seem to be kind of on not the greatest footing. Plus on top of all this, I head LGBTQ club at school, which is also under attack. So I'm very vulnerable right now. This next year coming up is going to be a little scary. So I figured I'm going to try and hold myself off as much as I can for this next year so I can finish my internship. And then once the district does their budgeting, the county does their budgeting in October of 2023, I can sneak in into admin somewhere. And right now, I kind of got lucky because I found my niche with social studies. I had taught middle school all 8 years. Now that I'm in high school, I've never taught social studies. I found out that I'm actually decent at it. So we're taking the whole AP route, dual enrollment route on psychology. So hopefully that'll save me from getting sued.
Yeah, hang in there. It's definitely tough, and there's a shortage all over, and we need good leaders. So hang in there. Jessica?
Hi, I'm Jessica Lowe. I'm also in Florida, but on the other side of the state by the Gulf Coast. I'm originally from Connecticut, so I started off my teaching career there, teaching in an inner city urban school, Title I, all of that, teaching 5th grade and kindergarten. And then I moved down to Florida. I was teaching 4th grade and very suburban charter school. And this year I made the change to instructional coach and testing coordinator. And I started this program because next year I'll be the 3-5 admin.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Heather? You're muted.
My name is Heather Adkins, and I'm currently in South Korea, actually. So good morning to all of you.
Good morning. Wow. I'm sorry.
So,
you did email me about the time zone.
it's all right. It's all right. I just will have to pop out in about 15 minutes to another meeting as my day started. So yeah, I've been an international educator for 18 years. And so this is my 6th international school. And I have been teaching English literature and film studies for the last little while. And now I've been moving into admin slowly over the course of my career. I am currently the experiential learning coordinator. So I deal with like off-campus learning for students. And I'm also a head of grade 9, which means like I'm the supervisor for the grade 9 team and the grade 9 students. And I also am in charge of the student leadership program here. And then of course I teach my IB and MYP English classes. So bit of a full schedule, and I'd like to start moving away from classroom into more admin And this is my second master's as well. So I have my first master's in curriculum and instruction, and this is, I kind of got into teaching kind of backwards. I did my my BA in film and television studies, and then moved into teaching from there, and then got my master's on top of that. So my certification in the US is slightly different. I'm not really certified with the state, and I've never actually taught in the US, except at the university level. Yeah, just slightly different educational experience maybe from everyone else. Yeah, I'm an American Canadian and grew up in East Africa actually, myself. So just a bit of a variety, diverse learner myself on many levels, and have, yeah, different background, I guess. Thank you.
Very good. No, thank you. Well, I mean, that's the name of the course. It's about diverse learners, and hopefully what you'll find out along the way, diversity isn't just about race and background and ethnicity. There are diverse learners that, you know, struggle through language, that live in poverty, and you'll see some of the things that'll pop up. It's a 5-week course. So is this your second course, everyone, or your third course, your first course? Second course.
The second.
Okay, so I want to talk about expectations so that you understand what I expect. It's a 5-week course. It's going to fly by. And so I want to point out a couple of things that you just need to have top of mind as you go through the course. I put everything in the announcements. And actually, I missed a video. So I do some videos up front that walk through grading, feedback, and APA formatting. Now, I've gotten feedback along the way, you know, Dr. Hunt's, you know, the way he grades, my other professor didn't do it this way. The APA was slightly different. So I'm a bit of a stickler on the APA formatting piece. So I just want to point that out. I put a lot of resources in there, and I'll give you feedback along the way in all of your papers. But just make sure that you look at the example APA paper that I provided. That's how your papers should look. They should look exactly as they're formatted, and I think I point out fairly clearly what is expected there. So APA formatting, and then I'm going to share my screen here shortly because I'm going to walk through kind of the overview. So read the announcements, take a close look at APA formatting. There are some very specific things that you have to be aware of when you set up your paper. The other thing that is important is the Turnitin score. Now, I can tell you I was never an English teacher. And so I know that the folks across our state, they use Turnitin as their way to combat plagiarism. And so does ACE. So I want to point out to you that you're going to submit your papers. You will submit it to Turnitin, and it's going to show me a kind of a percentage number. And you've probably seen this along the way after your first course. You know, you're yellow, you're green, or you're blue, and what does that mean? And oh my God, I didn't plagiarize. So I'm going to tell you, don't get too nervous about that piece, because I know you're not going to plagiarize, because you wouldn't do that. But some people do. That percentage score for you when you submit something should be about between 20 and 25% or way less. If you have something that pops up at 47%, you're going to want to go back in and make sure that you've cited properly, and that you are making sure that you have your references lined up appropriately, and that you haven't taken word for word. Now, the exception to that is you're going to find out there are templates, and you might have a set of standards that you're using, or standardized rubrics that you're using, and that you may have used in previous courses that you've submitted. Those are going to come back as a hit. And it will show up when I look at it. And I typically, you know, if you're Turnitin percentage is high, I'm going to tell you you're going to need to take a closer look at what you're submitting, and to make sure that it is not plagiarized. Because then we go down that path, and of course I have to, you know, fill out a form, send that to send you to the office about plagiarism. So I'm going to trust that you're going to kind of follow the directions, follow the rule, and but you know, no need to jump off the clock tower. If you have a high score percentage and you're not sure what to do, you can just shoot me an email and say, I'm not sure what I did here, and I'll make sure to give you a little feedback. I'm going to share my screen. Maybe, let's see. Okay. Can you see my screen? All right. So I want to point out some things that I think will be helpful. Number one, we'll start down here with the announcements. And you could see I post mine. It probably looks a little different on your end as a student. I'm not absolutely certain, but I think it does. But I would encourage you, please read the announcements. Yes, sometimes they're repetitive, and I will have in there what you'll see in the assignment. But from my perspective, I think the more that I can support you in making sure you know what to do at each step, I try to point those out in there. And if you have questions, you shoot me an email, and I will get back to you to answer any of your questions. But these first four, the welcome, the intro, I would strongly urge you to read through those announcements. That'll be the setup for you in the course. I'd also point you to the course syllabus. And again, I do this in the opening video. I'm not going to scroll down, but make sure you read the late policy. And again, I'm not sure what you had in your first course, but there's a 10% runoff for every day that you're late. Typically, there's some flexibility. If I know there's an extenuating circumstance, now sleeping in isn't an extenuating circumstance. If you're ill, you're going to tell me, hey, I have COVID. I've been sick in bed. Can I get an extension? And there's some flexibility in the week-long schedule, but you don't get 2 weeks to turn in assignments. So each week you've got to try to stay on top to the best of your ability, submitting your discussion boards and your analysis or application papers. And again, if you've been through a course, you know kind of what the cadence is in the 5 weeks. So I just point you to the syllabus and make sure you understand late work. Again, extenuating circumstance, you're going to tell me, and I'm happy to work with you. I know we all have other things to do other than our coursework. But to the best of my ability, I should be able to provide you with some additional time. The other thing that I think is very useful, maybe, is the calendar. I would go right to that because, again, I put this in the announcements as well for the discussion boards, when they're due, when you should do your first response, when you should respond to your peers. The calendar, you'll see here the due dates on my calendar say due by 2:59 a.m. For like module 1. The discussion is due Sunday, 2:59 a.m. Monday, 2:59 a.m. Now, hopefully you're not up until 2:58 to try to submit, and you're ahead of the curve on the calendar, but those are the due dates. So I would just make sure you have that kind of on your calendar as you're working through that these are the dates and times, these are set by the course, and that's what you should follow. So consult the calendar. The other thing that I want to talk about briefly is the discussion board. So I'd like for everyone to be able to submit a response in the getting to know you. Not only does it help me, it also help your classmates know and understand who you are and get a perspective of where you're coming from for the class, and then the discussion boards. So you have to submit a response, and then you have to respond to 2 peers. You only need 1 reference and an in-text citation for the discussion board. Some people will do more, and that's fine, but I'm only looking that you've met the requirement of 1 reference. Very important, because I typically will get questions, you know, do I have, what if I have 5 or 6? You can have 5 or 6, but you don't need 5 or 6. You need 1. And I guess the only thing we'll get to the assignments here real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about grades and what that looks like in the grade book and how I do it. You'll see there are 5 assignments. There's first one's an analysis, and then 3 applications, and then a reflection. In the analysis, I believe there are a lot of, it references your experience in first person. It's okay to write in first person for this portion of the paper, but you should have it formatted the way I've showed you in the formatting. You should have an introduction, a conclusion, a references page. You're going to do that for all 5 of those, including the reflection. The reflection is going to look the same as the other papers. And again, as questions crop up around what it is you're working on, I will be available to help you through that. And then in the grade book, which there are no grades currently, but there are some submissions. That is good to see. People are working it already on day one. When we get into the grade book, I grade, and I encourage you to watch the grading and feedback, but I grade 3 ways here. So for the discussion boards, there's a rubric. I click on your points, and I'll make some commentary about your responses. When we get to the assignments, the analysis, the paper submissions, I do this 3 ways. I told you up front, I'm a little bit of a stickler for APA, and I want to see the formatting down right, because if you do go on, I guarantee you'll need to have APA mastered. So hopefully, me being a stickler helps you a little bit. But you have to make sure in those submissions that as I'm grading them, that you can look at the paper itself, because I will put commentary in the paper. Typically, that's where I comment on your formatting. I'll tell you about your in-text citations, if you have the right amount of references, if your headings look good, if you have the format set up as I've asked you to in that initial example paper. And then in the rubric, I will, if you haven't hit, the top score, I will make some comment about why I deducted points. And I'll do that in the rubric. And then there's kind of a general commentary. And because of the time frame, it's not like I can read your paper, edit, provide you with some time for edits and for you to correct it. There's no corrections. It's a submission. It's graded, and we're on to the next, the next assignment. So typically, what I'll do in the comments overall is I'll point out your, what you've done. Thanks, Heather. I know you have to go. What you've done in terms of addressing the critical elements of the assignment. And so that is what grading is going to look like. And if you want or need additional feedback, again, you just reach out to me. It's any little something more I didn't get why you looked at it this way when I provided this. So that is grades and grading. Let me go back to the menu. And I think I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions about what the next 5 weeks will look like. And if you don't have any tonight, that's okay. No, I won't put anyone on the spot. But typically, as we get into looking at, what the assignments look like and how you are looking at diverse populations of learners and achievement gaps, sometimes questions do pop up there, especially if you're in a place where data is scarce. And so if you run into those issues, of course, you will ask, and I will try to point you in a direction that will help you. So I don't want to keep you any longer than need be. And Jessica, I know you joined a little late, so I wonder if you want to say hello and give us a little snippet of who you are.
Sure. I'm Jessica. I am in Orlando, Florida. It's our last week of school, so I'm working on putting together some stuff for my teachers. I'm currently the staffing specialist, so I oversee the ESC department at my school and staff in all of our ESC kiddos. So that's me.
Great. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to keep you any longer than I need to. Unless you have questions, I will give you back the other 15 minutes that I had scheduled for this. But I do appreciate you joining, and hopefully this is helpful and helps kind of set of expectations for the course for you. And so with that, I'm going to stop recording